Hi again, everyone. Thank you for being here and welcome to tonight's webinar, Funding for Farmers, Introduction to the Transition to Organic Partnership Program and more, hosted by NOFA New Hampshire, the Natural Resources Conservation Service, and the Farm Service Agency. I'm Nikki Kolb, Operations Director at the Northeast Organic Farming Association of New Hampshire. As an organization dedicated to farming and food, we wish to begin this meeting by acknowledging and honoring the first stewards of the land we live and work on today. We're broadcasting from the land of the Pennacook tribe, or Ndakina, the Abenaki word for the traditional ancestral homeland of the Abenaki and Wabanaki peoples past and present. We acknowledge and honor with gratitude the Alnobak people who have stewarded this land and its waterways through the generations. Thank you. So before we dive into the program, I wanted to just remind everyone that we're recording this webinar and we'll distribute it in June. And we'll open to Q&A after each organization presents their information and at the end of the meeting. So please feel welcome to type any questions that you have into the chat along the way. All right, let's get started. Thanks for being here. Okay, so the goals for tonight's presentation are introductions to the Transition to Organic Partnership Program, or TOPP, NRCS Organic Transition Initiative funding and direct farmer assistance, the Organic Certification Cost Share Program, and how to get involved. Who is NOFA New Hampshire? NOFA New Hampshire actively promotes organic, regenerative, ecologically sound farming, gardening, eating, and land care practices for healthy communities. We help people build local, just, and sustainable food systems. We're one of 7 state chapters of NOFA, founded in 1971, and we're a membership organization comprised of farmers, home growers, nonprofits, school professionals, community advocates, and eaters. Our programs and services include educational workshops. We have an annual on-farm workshop series called Craft. We host an organic gardening series in the spring. We have webinars and intensive workshops. We also host conferences and events. We have an annual winter conference, farmer gatherings, film screenings, and panel discussions. And we serve our community with policy and advocacy at the local, regional, and federal levels. We participate in food security initiatives. We have an annual farm share program. We are a partner in New Hampshire Feeding New Hampshire, and we collaborate with New Hampshire food access organizations across the state. And we also participate in producer support through TOPP. We have an annual bulk order program and technical assistance initiatives. And we're continuing to grow. As I mentioned, we're a membership-based organization and we're dedicated to meeting our community's diverse and emerging needs. So what is the USDA Transition to Organic Partnership Program? It's a $100 million national investment over 5 years to provide technical assistance and wraparound support for transitioning and existing organic farmers. USDA Agricultural Marketing Service is building partnership networks in 6 regions across the U.S. with trusted organizations serving direct farmer training, education, and outreach activities. And NOFA New Hampshire is proud to be one of the core partners in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic TOPP region, and many of our other core partners might be on the call tonight too, so thanks for being here. And this is a lovely map of some of the top core partners across the country and many other partners as well. The list is growing and partners are being actively added, which is really exciting. The goal of TOPP is to transition more farms and more acres to certified organic. And the key initiatives are organic farmer-to-farmer mentorship, community building opportunities, technical assistance and training, and workforce training and development. And now I'd like to introduce my colleague, Denise Rico, to share more information about the mentorship program. Denise is NOFA New Hampshire's finance coordinator and bulk order coordinator, and she's helping to oversee TOPP in New Hampshire and is a certified organic farmer. Thanks so much, Denise.
Thank you, Nikki. Good evening, everyone. As Nikki said, my name is Denise, and I've been a certified organic vegetable farmer here in New Hampshire for 10 years. I will be helping to oversee the TOPP mentorship program when it launches later this year. The next few slides will provide a brief overview of this important program. Links to more information about the program will be posted in the comments and emailed to those who are interested. Could I have the next slide, please?
Yes.
Oh, I have it. The TOPP mentorship program will have mentors that guide and support producers who are transitioning to certified organic production by providing valuable insights, practical advice, and industry best practices. Mentors will be paired with transitioning farmers with similar farming practices. Mentors and mentees will receive onboarding and training, have regular meetings and check-ins, participate in program evaluations, and are required to commit 45 hours of collaboration each year. It is recommended that mentors and mentees attend at least one educational event together during the mentorship period. Next slide. TOPP is seeking certified organic producers who are passionate about organic production to share their expertise. Mentors will partner with at least one producer transitioning to organic for 1 year, with an option to renew mentorship annually. They will complete 5 hours of mentor training and provide 40 hours of mentorship each year. It is suggested that mentors present at or host an educational event at their farm or operation. Next, please. Mentors will be owners, managers, employees, or retired producers of certified organic operations with at least 3 years of experience with organic certification. They will have a strong understanding of the rules, challenges, and benefits of organic production and becoming certified organic. Mentors will receive a $3,000 stipend for each mentorship per year. Mentors with language skills beyond English may be eligible for additional compensation. Next, please. Mentees will have existing farming operations where they are currently employees, managers, or owners, and will have at least 2 years experience owning or operating a farm. Mentees will be producers that are planning to transition an existing operation, in the process of transitioning an operation, adding new organic acreage, adding new scopes of organic certification, and/or starting a new certified organic operation. Mentees must intend to become certified organic. Next, please. Mentees are required to participate in 2 farm visits per year, 1 at the mentee farm and 1 at the mentor farm. They will participate in at least 3 touch points with their mentor during the growing season and commit 45 hours to the program annually. Mentee positions are not paid through TOPP. Mentees can access programs and resources from NRCS and FSA to help with their transition. You will hear more about these programs later in this presentation. Next, please. Please visit the USDA TOPP website for more information, to express interest in the mentorship program, or to receive updates about the TOPP program. Applications for the mentorship program will become available in July and are due by August 31st, 2023. The program will begin on November 1st, 2023. More details about becoming a mentor or mentee are available on NOFA New Hampshire's TOPP webpage. Links will be in the comments section. Thanks so much for your time, and now back to Nikki.
Excuse me. Awesome. Thank you so much, Denise, for sharing all that information. And TOPP is just beginning, and we're very excited for what the next 5 years have in store, including community building events and networking opportunities for farmers, expanded technical assistance opportunities for existing and transitioning organic producers, and increased workforce development and education. So please sign up for our newsletter if you aren't already to learn more as these new initiatives unfold. Thank you for your engagement so far. So before we turn it over to NRCS and FSA, we're happy to take questions for a few minutes. You can put them in the chat or feel welcome to unmute yourself. I'm gonna stop sharing because I can't see everyone. Are there any questions so far? I know, Tabitha, you were looking at the chat.
I was muted and I started talking. I do not see any questions in the chat at this time.
Okay, great. If anyone has questions, we're happy to just wait for a couple minutes, and if not, we can move on. Okay. All right. Okay, well, thank you so much again, and we can take more questions at the end. And now I'm happy to turn it over to Tabitha at NRCS.
Thank you, Nikki. Just a second and I will get our presentation up. You could give me the thumbs up when my presentation is running. That would be great. Okay, cool. Thank you. So thank you all for being with us this evening. My name is Tabitha Edwards. I'm the Outreach Coordinator for New Hampshire Natural Resources Conservation Service, and I'll be facilitating the NRCS section of this presentation. We'll start off with our Acting State Conservationist, Rebecca Lauster.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Tabitha. As Tabitha mentioned, my name is Rebecca Lauster, and I am currently serving in New Hampshire. Home for me is actually Virginia, and I have worked for NRCS for over 20 years, and my normal position is actually in Washington, D.C. With our national headquarters, which is where Becky Ross, who is the permanent state conservation, is currently serving on a detail. So I'm very thankful to be here tonight. And first, I wanted to recognize NOFA for, putting this event together and for really being a great partner for us as we look towards, how do we reach producers that are interested or, are currently doing organic, and especially those right now as we have this new Organic Transition Initiative. We really look forward to sort of welcoming you and answering any questions during this particular meeting. And of course, if you have any afterwards, please always feel free to reach out to us. So thank you, Tabitha, and back to you.
Thanks, Rebecca. Next up, we have Don Kierstead, our State Resource Conservationist and State Soil Scientist, and he'll share some more information.
Great, thanks everyone, and thanks for the farmers that took time out of their schedule to meet with us and hear about some of these special offerings we have. We'd like to really spend a little bit of time here today to talk about our Organic Transition Initiative, which is a new initiative for NRCS, and the acronym we're using for it is OTI. So with our Organic Transition Initiative, we've got a $75 million pot of money nationally to incentivize additional organic certification. So that can look a couple different ways. First, it can be for existing organic farmers who are looking to bring on new ground, new acres that isn't certified at the moment and work to certify those acres. It can also work for other farmers who are thinking about transitioning to certified organic. But this particular initiative and pot of money is not available for already certified organic acres or for farmers that are interested in working with NRCS on a number of other issues. We have plenty of other funds and other sub-accounts we won't talk about to help solve resource concerns and work with you. So we really want to kind of broadcast a wide net here tonight and let folks know if you're not working with NRCS currently, we'd love you to come in and meet our field staff, work with our field staff, and get to know us in some of our different programs. But tonight, we're kind of plugging the organic certified program here and the transition initiative for folks looking to transition acres. And really the why, I think, beyond this, from what we've heard from our national headquarters, is that the demand for organic is outpacing the acres that we're bringing in nationally. So demand is really skyrocketing for organic products, but acres are really kind of not catching up. So our goal here is to try to bring more acres into organic production. Next slide, please, Tabitha. So with this initiative, we have some targeted practices. If you're familiar with NRCS, you know that we often work in practices that look to solve resource concerns or resource problems. And for the Organic Transition Initiative, we have a new practice that's going to sort of drive and govern how we look at things. And Chad is going to talk a little bit here in a minute about the practice you see at the top, organic management. And I think of this as sort of a checklist or an inventory of what's going on currently on the farm now to try to find some of those challenges, pain points, or resource concerns where we can kind of focus some of the dollars to solve resource concerns and incentivize transition to organic. One thing we want to kind of point out here is that there are a lot of other supporting practices. So once we do sort of this first piece in this inventory, in practice 823, there's a number of other practices that can be used to help incentivize that transition. And so I'll mention just a few here as we look at the facilitating practices, and this is not an exhaustive list. So if you have other ideas of practices you might want to do, please mention that to the NRCS field staff and we can work with you on those. But if you're familiar with our technical service provider program, we can help hire a private consultant that works with us with funds we can provide to the farmer to help update or improve your organic transition plan and develop what we call a technical service provider plan. So that's one option for you. Also, our staff can help develop these plans for you as well. And so you can see a number of the other practices on the list: crop rotation, cover crops, nutrient management, etc. And one thing that's exciting about the transition initiative here is that we have an opportunity to incentivize what we call foregone income. And foregone income is where NRCS provides a payment to the landowner if we're taking cropland out of production to install a needed conservation practice. So sometimes we're doing practices on cropland, so we don't need particularly to use foregone income, but other times we might install something like a buffer or a field border or something where we're taking a little bit of production ground out to install a needed best management practice, and there's a foregone income payment for that. So I think if as we dig into this a little bit more, I think you're going to learn that there's some pretty good incentive payments here built in to help farmers kind of transition. We understand that there's additional record keeping and things that are needed while you're transitioning. And so hopefully some of these funds can help you get some good conservation on the ground and help this incentivize your transition. Next slide, please, Tabitha. And so here's just a look, and this is where I'm going to pass over to Chad Cochran, our state agronomist. This is just kind of a basic look at this practice organic management code 823. And as you can see here, if you just kind of look at the purposes, you'll see there's so many different purposes we can try to address with this particular standard through NRCS and fund some of these opportunities. So Chad, I'll turn this over to you here, and thanks everyone for your time this evening.
Thank you, Don. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Good evening. Beautiful evening out there. Thank you for joining us here on Zoom. Yeah, as Don noted, this is a new conservation practice for us, this organic management code 823 practice. And if you noticed on the last slide, it's actually considered a core practice of the transition initiative. So this is going to be something that's in practically every contract we do through the initiative. And also, like Don mentioned, it's an inventory. So it's an opportunity for us to get to know you and your farm, see how your transition is going or your progress toward transitioning, and then inventory where things are going well, maybe where things aren't. And the whole point of this management practice here is to try to make sure you're both meeting the National Organic Program rules, the NOP rules, and also elevating things a bit in the name of conservation. You know, the NRCS works with organic growers all the time, kind of day in, day out in New Hampshire. So that there's nothing new there, but this is just a way and really an understanding that when someone is managing a farm organically, it's extra work. It's extra labor, it's extra management, extra thought processes that have to go into the way that you're managing your pests, you know, weeds, insects, managing your nutrients, managing your tillage or lack thereof, irrigation, all of those things that go into growing crops organically. It is a higher lift, it's more difficult, and this is an understanding of that. And because of that, there's extra incentive payments that go toward managing your farm organically. Tabitha, next slide. So how does this work in real life? How would this work in a potential contract with us? The first start is that you guys, farmers out there, are going to contact our local field office. And it can be anyone looking to transition to certified organic production. If you're not in that niche group right now on this call, I would say contact your field office anyway. Like Don mentioned, there's a lot of other programs that we have that can meet you exactly where you're at. Right now, we're talking about people that really want to become organic certified, but contact your local office. We have people that really what they do is go out to your farm, work with you one-on-one, and work on that inventory process. It's probably going to be someone local in the county you're in, plus probably myself. Since organic management is a brand new practice to our agency, we're trying to have some consistency in the way that we roll it out across the state. But we will kind of look at where things are at, what's working, what's not, where we have some opportunities to improve. And I will say this as well. Everything we do in the NRCS is very, very farmer driven. We don't have an agenda that we're trying to impose on you. You're going to be doing things that you think are important for your farm and your operation, things that are attainable. And we just want to help you get there. So that is the way that works. Once we inventory through organic management, we're likely going to find additional practices or different managements as well on top of that, like nutrient management, for example, to help you raise that bar even higher and ultimately make you a more successful organic farmer and also improve conservation on your farm. So just as an example, since this is all kind of theoretical at the moment, I have here that if we're out there talking with you and you mentioned that your cover crops are not providing enough residue for good weed management in the spring, that's something that we could look at. We could dig into a little bit deeper. And we're likely to look at that through this organic management practice and then layer on additional practices on top of it. So things like changing the way you're cover cropping, maybe your species or your timing or your termination method of your cover cropping, the way you're rotating crops so you can get more time for cover crop growth, things like that. And then maybe some other more ancillary things like pest management or mulching can go along with it for weed control. So that's just one narrow example. This could be for grazing operations, could be for vegetable operations, could be really anyone who's transitioning into organic production. But that is organic management in a nutshell. Again, brand new for us. We're excited to be rolling this out. It has a lot of opportunity, a nice incentive payment to go with it. And I will, on that note, send it back to you, Tabitha.
Thank you, Chad. So you get to hear from me a little bit about some program information, and we wanted to let you know that the Organic Transition Initiative is funded through the Environmental Quality Incentives Program, which is a program that's been around for quite a few years. So this isn't a new program, it's just a new initiative within one of our existing programs. The application deadline for this Organic Transition Initiative in New Hampshire is June 15th. And if you're tuning in from a different state, the deadline may be slightly different since states have some flexibility on selecting the date. Of course, June 15th is only 2 weeks away. So if you have any interest in participating in this program, please reach out to your local field office at your earliest convenience. And I know this is a busy time for farming, so you can even apply over the phone. And then you would work with a conservation planner to determine eligibility for NRCS programs and schedule a site visit. An application does not commit you to anything. It only shows your interest. So you can cancel at any time with no penalty when you're in the application phase. So certainly reach out to explore some options prior to June 15th, but don't feel like you need to have, a completely polished plan. NRCS employees help you through the process. And I'm also going to provide contact information for each of the field offices in a following slide, and I'll drop my contact info in the chat if you'd like to reach out to me as well. So in order to apply for this organic initiative, interested producers would have to self-certify their operations as transitioning to organic. Also, while the focus of this presentation has been about the Organic Transition Initiative program, NRCS has many other programs, as Chad and Don mentioned earlier, that can assist different types of operations. So if you're a farmer, forester, or own farm or forest land, or if you know anybody that fits those categories, please feel welcome to reach out and see what opportunities NRCS may be able to offer to you. At NRCS, our focus is to improve resource concerns on privately owned lands, and those resources that we look at are soil, water, air, plants, animals, and energy, just to give you an idea of some of the things we really focus on in our planning. But don't feel the need to be an expert in NRCS programs and lingo. That's our job, so we're happy to help you through that process. And here's a visual guide of how you would work with us. So first up, you would reach out to your local NRCS field office, and it's on the following slide. You'll see that contact information, and these slides will also be uploaded to the NOFA website, so you can easily grab that contact info. So first up is reaching out to your local field office, and your local field office will also advise you to establish records with the Farm Service Agency if you don't already have records with them, or update your records. And there will be at least one form that's updated annually. So even if you have some records, please keep in mind to check in with the Farm Service Agency, because that is part of eligibility for Natural Resources Conservation Service programs. It's relatively simple eligibility documents. I mean, they're government documents, so there's a lot of words on them, but we're happy to help you through the process. So please try not to feel intimidated by them. So then you would have a site visit with an NRCS conservation planner, and they're really going to help you through the application process and then ranking the application. And if you decide to if you're pre-approved and decide to move forward with a contract, there's just some info on this graphic to kind of help visualize the process for you. And then these are the locations of our NRCS field offices and our USDA non-discrimination statement. And I'd like to pause here. If anyone has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself or drop a question in the chat. And if there's no questions, thank you for being here and listening to our presentation. Again, we're the Natural Resources Conservation Service. We'll give it 30 seconds or so, and then I'll be handing it off to Andrea Bai at the Farm Service Agency, which is a sister agency of NRCS.
All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Andrea Bai, and as Tabitha mentioned, I work with the Farm Service Agency. Let me pull up my presentation here. All right. So this, again, just to echo everybody else, I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight, and a special thanks to NOFA for hosting this webinar on programs available for organic and transitioning producers. We've talked quite a bit about various USDA programs. I know Nikki from NOFA started talking about the TOPP program with the Agricultural Marketing Service. Now you've heard from the Natural Resources Conservation Service, and you are now hearing from the Farm Service Agency. I did want to include one slide about USDA programs that support organic farms and businesses overall, so that you can have reference to these slides after the call. I serve as the New Hampshire beginning farmer and rancher coordinator alongside Tabitha, and one of the biggest things we hear from beginning farmers is there's so many programs out there, and it can be tricky to navigate through it all. So certainly don't hesitate to reach out to either one of us. We can help walk you through, hear what your needs are and kind of point you in the right direction to what programs might best meet your needs. As for the Farm Service Agency, who I'm representing tonight, we have two sides of the house. We have a program side of the house. We support farmers with things such as disaster assistance. And if you're tuning in from New England, you know that recently we've had a pretty disastrous frost event that damaged a lot of fruit trees. We've had flooding events this year. Last year we had drought. So we have a lot of programs that support producers who are facing different natural disasters. We also offer various conservation programs and safety net programs, including price support, as well as risk management. We also have the loan side of the house, and producers can apply for low interest rate loans, whether it be ownership loans or operating loans. And any interested producers, as I will echo Tabitha and Chad, contact your local service center. This is a snapshot of the local service centers here in New Hampshire, along with contact information for each of the service centers. So become familiar with the service centers in your county. And if you're from outside of New Hampshire, you can go to farmers.gov/service-locator to find the service center in your state. Kind of diving deeper into the organic programs at the Farm Service Agency. Tonight, I'm going to be touching briefly on two programs. We have the Organic Certification Cost Share Program and an Organic Dairy Marketing Assistance Program, which is brand new. So USDA is really trying to address barriers to organic certification. As Chad mentioned, we really want to be able to support producers to catch up with the demand. One certification myth is that people can't afford organic certification, or they don't want to have to deal with the paperwork. So on the truth side of it is record keeping. As we all know, it's not anything any of us enjoy doing, but it is a good farm management practice and will enable you to participate in programs, including disaster programs. So the more you can show what you're producing in a good year and how you're producing it, you'll be able to access USDA programs to support your operation. And FSA has programs we're going to talk about momentarily to help producers cover the costs associated with organic certification. And our service centers, as far as government agency goes, we are very customer service oriented, and we will help walk producers through their applications for the cost share program. So as we mentioned, in response to the needs of organic producers, FSA's programs will pay for a portion of the costs associated with organic certification, support organic dairy farmers who have been impacted by supply chain issues associated with COVID-19. And we do have programs that provide incentives to convert sensitive land into organic buffers and implement climate resilient farming practices. For the Organic Certification Cost Share Program, this is an ongoing annual program that reimburses producers for the costs associated with organic certification. It's changed a little bit in the past, but we're back up to 75%. So applause, yay. It was down to 50 the past couple of years. We're back up to 75% reimbursement of certification costs, not to exceed $750 per certification scope. Get more into that on the next slide. So the USDA organic certification scopes include crops, wild crops, livestock, processing and handling, and state organic program fees. Certified organic operations can receive cost share assistance for the scopes listed only if they are listed on your organic certificate. And if you have more than one certificate and are doing more than one scope, then you'll be able to be reimbursed for any and all scopes you have a certificate for. Just want to let folks know here in New Hampshire, we do not have any state agencies that administer the organic certification cost share program. So you will reach out directly to your farm service agency county office. But if you are tuning in from out of state, you can check out this website and see if your state does participate. And you will reach out to the State Department of Agriculture to apply with them where applicable. Both FSA and state agencies in those states will accept applications, but you cannot receive duplicate benefits from both farm service agency and a state agency. Before you apply, just make sure you have received your first certification if you're new, and that you have incurred expenses related to your first certificate or your renewal of certification. This program is based on a fiscal year. So we're looking at certification expenses incurred between October 1st of 2022 through, we're looking forward now to September 30th of 2023. The application period is open currently and is set to close on October 31st. But I would encourage you, if you have your current certificate where you paid for it within this fiscal year, apply as soon as possible, because the amount of funds available nationwide are limited and applications are paid on a first come, first served basis. Applications that are received after the funds are obligated will not be paid. I also want to just mention that state applications may differ. So if you are in a state that has a state-run program, please be in touch with your local State Department of Agriculture for more details about their deadlines. And there's a link to the organic program webpage here. The other program I wanted to announce today is a brand new pandemic program. It's a one-time program for organic dairy producers called the Organic Dairy Marketing Assistance Program. This program provides marketing assistance funding to eligible organic dairy operations that produce milk from dairy cows, dairy goats, and dairy sheep. It is a one-time only program. It will happen now and probably not ever again, with 2 planned payments that are based on a cost share of marketing costs on the pounds of organic milk marketed for the 2022 calendar year. If you are a new, transitioning, or expanded dairy operations, you may be eligible to request payments based on your estimated 2023 milk production. But there is a 5 million pound production limit. There are approximately 2,500 organic dairy operations located across all regions of the country. In general, organic dairy operations are relatively small, grass-based, and many are direct market dairy operations. Historically, organic producers have had limited participation in FSA programs. So this is one way we're trying to introduce FSA to organic dairy producers, because we do have various other programs for dairy operations, just getting the word out about what we can do for farmers. The sign up for this program began a week ago today, on May 24th, and it will end on July 26th. And dairy operations who are interested will reach out to their county offices to complete the application, certifying to 2022 milk marketings. If you apply for this program, you may receive 2 payments. The first payments will be your pounds of milk marketed, converted to hundredweight for 2022, multiplied by $1.10 per hundredweight, multiplied by a 75% payment factor. And then at the end of the sign-up period, a second payment of that additional 25% may be issued as long as there continue to be available funding. I did put a few different links for you all in at the end of the PowerPoint, so you can go back and look up more information online. And with that, I can open it up to any questions. Quiet crowd tonight. I don't see anything in the chat, so I guess with that, I will turn it back over to Nikki. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And hopefully we've done a good job explaining all of these exciting opportunities, since we haven't seen any questions, but we'd be happy for you all to reach out to us with our emails or through our websites. If you do want to ask anything after this call, I'm going to pull up this last slide that we had prepared with some more information about some of the deadlines that were mentioned about these programs. So if you could just bear with me for a second. There we go. That worked. Okay.
Hi, Nikki. I did have one question for the NRCS folks.
Great.
And thanks to everybody for putting this together. It's really great information. There's a lot of new things happening, so it's good for us to have it all sorted here. But I guess my question is around, so the existing organic transition, or the transition initiative that's been in place, through NRCS for some time, where a technical service provider can get trained to administer or help support certain NRCS conservation programs. But there was also that slice on helping somebody develop an OSP and that transition to organic. I know at MOFGA we used to have somebody on staff that access those NRCS funds to then develop application materials and things like that for producers. So I guess I just wanted to ask, in assuming that this initiative is different through EQIP, but if you can maybe explain just sort of the difference there, because it seems like that program still exists with a funding pool, but this is sort of new and expanded.
Yeah, I'd be happy to grab that one. Yeah, so EQIP has had for a long time now an organic pool of money kind of set aside, dedicated to or farmers that are either transitioning or are certified organic. And this is really just another pool of money that is set aside specifically, in this case, for transitioning growers only. It's extra resources, essentially. And it comes along now with that organic management practice, which is brand new. So if you're doing this transition initiative, that organic management practice goes along with it as a core kind of bedrock practice that we grow everything else off of. Don showed a slide, though, of the transitioning to organic conservation plans, and they're called design activities as well. And that is where, and that can happen through this transition initiative too, where a technical might have just someone outside of the NRCS, a private individual meeting certain criteria, can develop a plan for a grower. So that can happen through this new transition initiative. It can happen also through the original organic plan. It's different, though, than there might have been something in other states where there were agreements with the NRCS for other groups that weren't technically in that technical service provider role, but these would need to be in that specific role. Hope that helped.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And yeah, I think the person that was at MOFGA doing that was a technical service provider, had gone through the program at NRCS, and focused a lot on the organic transition, but then also help people to navigate some of the other NRCS programs as well. Thank you.
Yeah, it's those are meant to be a gateway to help you, just like you said. Look for other resources that the NRCS might have, and also I'd say like Andrea said, there's a lot of resources across the whole USDA, not just NRCS. We all have our different roles to play in agriculture. Ours is focused on conservation. FSA has a lot of great programs, focused more on kind of the business development side of agriculture and insurance and things like that.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris, for asking, and Chad for providing that helpful answer. Are there any other questions? We're happy to take some more questions if folks have them in the chat, or if you want to just unmute yourself.
While we're waiting for questions, I'll keep rambling on a little bit.
Go ahead.
And say if a farmer comes to us and they're interested in participating with us, what direction they go is really going to be up to that farmer, and kind of in consultation with the NRCS planner. So there's going to be some times where it likely makes a ton of sense, given the operation and complexity, to engage with that private consultant as a TSP and get a really solid plan written. In other cases, the grower may already have their ducks in a row and be ready to rock and roll. And it's just really us providing support, a little bit of technical support and financial support to help them kind of establish their operation and goals, and bump up their level of conservation, like I keep saying, along the way. So what route it goes is really up to the grower based on where they're at. It's nice to have different options.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to add something too, excuse me, about the mentorship program through TOPP, and also the deadline through OTI that was mentioned earlier, and that's up on the screen that I'm sharing right now. I put into the chat earlier this link to show your interest in the mentorship program or in becoming a TOPP partner. So NOFA New Hampshire and our core partners across the region and the United States are actively recruiting for mentors and mentees. So if you have interest in this program, this is a very simple intake form. It doesn't obligate you to do anything, but it will give you more information when these applications for the TOPP mentorship program unroll in July. So if you're interested at all, we definitely encourage you to just fill out that form. And then also just wanting to highlight again, I think what Chad was saying earlier about, or what Tabitha was saying earlier about the June 15th deadline for the Organic Transition Initiative funding, that doesn't necessarily lock you into anything with regard to the program, but it gets you into this cycle. So if you're thinking about being a mentor in TOPP, if you're thinking about how to take advantage of the OTI funding because you're interested in transitioning, these are just some nice opportunities to sort of step in, and then you can learn more along the way. So hopefully that was helpful. And if there are any more questions, happy to take them. And if not, we can let you have your dinner if you haven't had that yet. So I'll just wait one more second here. Okay, awesome. Well, I want to thank you all again for joining us tonight, and offer a big thank you to NRCS and FSA and all of the presenters for sharing information about these exciting and important opportunities. We have posted the deadlines here on this page for all or some of the programs that were mentioned tonight. And all of the presenters' slides and a recording of this webinar are going to be available on NOFA New Hampshire's TOPP webpage, and that's NOFA-NH.org/TOPP, and we'll email you that information as well. And we welcome you to reach out to us with questions, as we've said before, and we hope you have a great night, and thank you again for being here.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Good evening.
Bye.